Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Next up, Mr. Angus.
Chair, I'll say at the beginning, I represent a region that's bigger than the United Kingdom. I represent communities that have no roads, some of the poorest Indigenous communities. And Facebook and YouTube transformed the power of Indigenous communities to speak to each other, to start to change the dynamic of how white society spoke about them. So I understand its incredible power for the good. I see more and more, though, in my region, self-radicalized people who are, it's impossible to speak to them. Flat earthers, yes, there are. I met them. Anti-vaxxers, 9/11 truthers. And I've seen it affect in our elections through the manipulation of anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim materials. But I have not yet seen the threat of death. So, Ms. Reza, you said that when in the West, what we face yesterday, I think to be correct, is that we face democratic threats. People are dying in Asia for the manipulation of these platforms. I want to ask you, is there in an act of solidarity with our parliament, with our legislators, if there's statements that should be made publicly through our parliament to give you support so that we can maintain a link with you as an important ally on the front line? I'd like to ask that as my first question.
First, thank you. Prime Minister Trudeau was actually, when he visited Manila, was the only person during, I believe it was APEC, who mentioned human rights at all, of all the world leaders who were here at that point in time. Canada's been at the forefront of holding fast to the values of human rights, of press freedom. So thank you. I mean, in advance, I think the more we speak about this, then the more the values are reiterated, especially since someone like President Trump truly likes President Duterte and vice versa. It's very personal. But, sir, when you talked about, where people are dying, you've seen this all over Asia. There's Myanmar, there is the drug war here in the Philippines, India and Pakistan, just instances when this tool for empowerment, just like in your district, it is something that we do not want to go away, not shut down. And despite the great threats that we face, that I face and my company faces, Facebook, the social media platforms still give us the ability to organize, to create communities of action that have not been there before.
Thank you very much. I've been very concerned about Sidewalk Labs, and I'm looking at it as a real estate deal. This may be the most prime real estate in North America that was handed over to Google on what the Auditor General of Ontario said was the shortest RFP she's ever seen. I think 6 weeks. It's 10 weeks for a local art project down there. Dan Doktorov came and told us it was the longest RFP in history. The Auditor General raised concerns that there was no public involvement, that this was done behind the scenes. Dan Doktorov told us that this was the most open process ever. I'm very concerned about the privatization of public space. I come from mining country. We had company towns. We fought like hell to get rid of them. I've heard from Mr. Basili. I've heard from Ms. Zuboff. Mr. McNamee, what do you think the citizens of Toronto should do regarding giving Google that prime real estate in the downtown where so many people gather?
I wouldn't let them within 100 miles of Toronto. So the fundamental issue here is one of self-governance and self-determination. And so I just don't believe any business, not Google, not anybody, should be in the business of operating our public spaces and our civic infrastructure. I just think that, there's a limit to what you can do with a public-private partnership, and that is way over the line. There's an experiment going on, I believe, in Barcelona, where there is a smart city project going on where the community and the citizens own the data. That'll be a very interesting thing to watch. The observation I would make is I am still cautious about the gathering of the data in the first place. Okay. I believe that the underlying issues relative to surveillance create too many temptations for people, and at the moment it's way, way, way too difficult to monitor what they're doing with the data once it's collected. So I believe that all of these things require, to use the old government thing, it required dramatically more study before we move forward.
Thank you.